the cathedral of the internal combustion engine. To truly understand the magnitude of the earthquake that has just shattered the automotive world, we must first travel back in time. We need to go back to a frozen morning in Detroit, Michigan, in 1913. It was there, amidst the smoke, the steel, and the roar of machinery, that Henry Ford did not just build a car. He constructed the modern world. When the moving assembly line first shuddered into life at the Highland Park plant, it didn't just churn out Model Ts, it churned out the American century. For 120 years, the Ford Motor Company has stood as the immutable monolith of industrial power. It was the arsenal of democracy that built the B-24 Liberator bombers to win World War II. It was the engine of the post-war economic boom that created the middle class. The blue oval was not merely a corporate logo. It was a secular religion. It represented a specific way of doing things: big factories, powerful unions, and massive engines. We were taught that this hierarchy was permanent. We were conditioned to believe that while others might copy or nip at the heels of the giants, the throne belonged to Detroit. The Americans invented the mass market, the Germans perfected the luxury segment, and the Japanese refined reliability. That was the natural order. But history is a cruel teacher, and it often saves its harshest lessons for those who believe they are invincible. While Ford was busy polishing its legacy and counting the profits from its massive F-Series trucks, a different kind of revolution was brewing in a humid warehouse in Shenzhen, China. It started not with a V8 engine, but with a humble mobile phone battery. It was founded not by a dynastic industrialist, but by a chemist named Wang Chuanfu. For 20 years, the executives in Dearborn, Michigan, looked east and saw only a supplier of cheap components. They saw a company that made plastic molds and Nokia batteries. They did not see the predator that was evolving in the dark. They did not realize that the very definition of the automobile was changing beneath their feet. They were playing a game of horsepower, while their opponent was playing a game of kilowatt hours and software integration. And now, as the dust settles on the financial reports of 2025, the unthinkable has happened. The cathedral has cracked. The student has not just surpassed the master, the student has retired him. To understand why Ford lost, look at who runs the companies. Ford has been led by a succession of MBA graduates and financial experts, men skilled in the art of balance sheets and stock buybacks. BYD is led by Wang Chuanfu, a battery chemist who grew up in poverty. There is a famous story that legendary investor Charlie Munger told Warren Buffett back in 2008. He said, "This guy Wang is a combination of Thomas Edison and Jack Welch." Why? Because he solved engineering problems that the rest of the world said were impossible. While Ford's executives were drinking champagne at auto shows, launching yet another petrol-guzzling Mustang, Wang Chuanfu was reportedly drinking battery electrolyte fluid in front of investors to prove his lithium iron phosphate batteries were non-toxic and safe. This is the fundamental difference in DNA. Ford is a marketing company that hires engineers. BYD is an engineering laboratory that happens to sell cars. When the global shift to electrification began, Ford had to fight against its own internal culture. They had engine departments, transmission departments, and exhaust system engineers. Thousands of people whose careers depended on the old technology surviving. BYD had none of that baggage. They were born in the electric age. They didn't have to pivot. They just had to accelerate. This cultural agility allowed them to move at a speed that Detroit simply couldn't comprehend. The data released this week is not just a collection of spreadsheets. It is the obituary of an era. For the first time since the invention of the automobile, the Ford Motor Company, the bedrock of American industry, has been outsold globally by BYD. The numbers are stark, cold, and undeniable. In the calendar year of 2025, Whilst Ford struggled to shift 4.4 million units, battling supply chain demons and a confused electrification strategy, BYD surged past the 4.6 million mark. This is not a rounding error. This is not a seasonal anomaly. This is a changing of the guard. To grasp the scale of this achievement, one must remember that in 2020, BYD was selling fewer than 500,000 cars a year. To grow tenfold in 5 years is a feat of industrial scaling that makes the Silicon Valley tech giants look sluggish by comparison. But this crossover represents something far more profound than just sales volume. It represents the victory of a new industrial philosophy. Ford relies on a century-old model of outsourcing. They buy their gearboxes from one company, their software from another, and their batteries from a third, attempting to assemble these disparate parts into a coherent whole. This leaves them vulnerable. When the global supply chain collapsed during the semiconductor crisis, Ford's assembly lines ground to a halt. Parking lots were filled with thousands of unfinished F-150s, waiting for a single chip. BYD, conversely, is a fortress of vertical integration. They own the lithium mines. They own the battery processing plants. They manufacture their own semiconductors and IGBT chips. While Ford was negotiating contracts, BYD was simply increasing production. This victory was not won in the showrooms. It was won in the mines and the laboratories. It is the triumph of the technology company that builds cars over the car company that is trying to learn technology. The symbolism of the factories. Nothing illustrates the fall of the American empire more poignantly than the physical factories themselves. For over a century, Ford planted its flag in nations around the world, building massive industrial cities. But in recent years, those flags have been lowered. The most striking example occurred in Brazil, in the industrial complex of Camaçari. For decades, this was a jewel in Ford's South American crown, churning out millions of engines and cars. But in 2021, Ford packed up and left, abandoning the site and thousands of workers, citing global restructuring. The factory stood silent, a ghostly monument to American retreat. Then, the Chinese arrived. BYD didn't just buy the land. They are transforming it into the most advanced electric vehicle hub in the Southern Hemisphere. Where Ford saw a liability, BYD saw an opportunity. They are installing robotics that Ford couldn't afford and producing cars like the Dolphin and the Song Plus that the local population can actually afford to buy and run. This pattern is repeating across the globe. From Thailand to Hungary, BYD is moving into the spaces that the West is vacating. It is a literal replacement of industrial power. The workers who used to wear the blue oval on their chests are now learning Mandarin phrases and assembling blade batteries. The symbolism is inescapable. The West is retreating, and the East is expanding. The difference isn't just strategy, it's physics. At the heart of this defeat is the battery. For years, Western manufacturers like Ford relied on NCM, nickel, cobalt, manganese. Batteries. These are energy-dense but volatile, expensive, and ethically problematic due to the cobalt supply chain. Ford assumed this was the only way. BYD, however, bet the farm on LFP, lithium iron phosphate. The industry laughed at them. They said LFP was too heavy, too low energy. But Wang Chuanfu knew something Detroit didn't. He knew that if you could package LFP cells efficiently enough, you could eliminate the cobalt, reduce the cost by 30%, and create a battery that is virtually indestructible. The result was the Blade battery. While Ford was recalling the F-150 Lightning due to battery fires, BYD was publicly performing the nail penetration test, driving a steel spike through a fully charged battery pack without it emitting smoke or fire. This technological advantage allowed BYD to launch the Seagull Dolphin Mini at a price point that is mathematically impossible for Ford to match. Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, openly admitted that Chinese manufacturers have a 30% cost advantage. It is like comparing an iPhone to a rotary dial phone. One is a platform for the future, the other is a relic of the past. The BYD Armada. A superpower is defined not just by what it can build, but by what it can project. Ford relied on third-party shipping lines to move its cars, leaving them at the mercy of fluctuating rates and logistical bottlenecks. BYD, in a move that stunned the maritime world, decided to build its own navy. The launch of the BYD Explorer No. 1 a massive roll-on roll-off vessel capable of carrying 7,000 cars, was a declaration of independence. And this is just the first of a planned fleet of 8. These ships are not just transport vessels, they are the arteries of a new global trade network. While Ford struggles to get parts into Detroit, BD is flooding the ports of Bremerhaven in Germany and Santos in Brazil with a relentless stream of inventory. They have secured the supply chain from the lithium mine in the ground to the dealership floor in Europe. No American company has this level of control. It is total war logistics applied to consumer goods. Perhaps the most humiliating chapter in this saga is not the sales numbers, but the admission of technological defeat. We are now witnessing a spectacle that would have been unimaginable 10 years ago. The Ford Motor Company, the pride of Detroit, is negotiating to license battery technology from the Chinese. The news that Ford is partnering with CATL and potentially using BYD's technology in their future affordable EVs is the final nail in the coffin of American automotive exceptionalism. It is an admission that after billions of dollars in research and development, Detroit cannot build a better battery than Shenzhen. This reversal of roles is absolute. For 40 years, Western companies went to China to teach them how to build cars. We set up joint ventures, FAW Volkswagen, SAIC GM, under the arrogant assumption that we would provide the technology, and they would provide the cheap labor. We thought we could control the flow of intellectual property. We were wrong. The apprentices absorbed everything. They took the lessons of lean manufacturing from Toyota, the lessons of luxury branding from Mercedes, and they combined it with a speed of software development that exists only in the Chinese tech sector. Now, the flow of technology has reversed. Ford needs China more than China needs Ford. The Ford Mustang Mach-E is now being built in China with Chinese batteries, because that is the only way to make it profitable. The Blue Oval is becoming a marketing wrapper around Chinese engineering. As we look out at the automotive landscape of 2026, we must accept that the map has been redrawn. The overtaking of Ford by BYD is not just a business story. It is a geopolitical pivot point. The automobile is the most complex consumer product on Earth. It sits at the intersection of heavy industry, chemical engineering, and advanced software. For a nation to dominate the car industry is for that nation to dominate the industrial capacity of the era. The 20th century was the American century because Detroit was the engine room of the world. The 21st century is shaping up to be the Chinese century because companies like BYD have solved the equation of mass-producing the future. What happens next? The dominoes are falling. With Ford surpassed, the crosshairs are now trained on the Volkswagen Group and, ultimately, Toyota. The protectionist tariffs being erected by Europe and America are desperate measures. A crumbling empire building walls to keep out the rising tide. But history shows that walls never work against superior innovation. You can tax a BYD car, but you cannot tax the efficiency of its engineering. You cannot tariff the physics of the blade battery. The consumer, ultimately, is a rational actor. When faced with a choice between a legacy product that costs more and does less, and a modern product that costs less and does more, the badge on the bonnet loses its power. Henry Ford once said, "History is more or less bunk." He meant that only the present and the future matter. Today, his own company has become history, and the future speaks Mandarin. The king is dead. Long live the king.